I want to get to a
little tighter
story here from this weekend that made me sad. It made me legitimately sad. And I was surprised by the sadness. It caught me off guard because it's twofold, right? So Stephen Colbert was canceled. And I was sad about this, even though I probably haven't watched that show in 6 years. Late night television is dead. He had the highest rated one, but that only means fewer than 2.5 million viewers a night because of how much damage has been done to late night television by our instantaneous need to get everything and what streaming has done to late night television, on-demand stuff. You don't have to be by your television for anything.
Cannibalizing itself too, understanding the different trends, and they create stuff for people to see it. If someone has anything worth a damn on late night, you catch it online. And that's how carpool karaoke exploded. Fallon remains culturally relevant by these social clips.
You know what? I shouldn't even say late night television is dead. It's just changed into something else. And what happened this last week was offensive to me on a couple of fronts. First of all, that show has existed for 33 straight years, 22 by Letterman and the last few by Colbert. But that show introduced me to televised comedy. I didn't even understand what I was watching late at night with David Letterman. It was so different from everything else that I had ever seen on television, but also taught me, oh shit, there's a dude on television who goes after his employer. That guy makes fun of the people writing his checks. And I'd never seen that. And so here's the sound. Now, what's amazing to me is that CBS is willing to lie this flagrantly about it's strictly a financial decision when it can't be strictly a financial decision. It's the highest rated late night show. Like, that is a bold-faced lie, even as programming tries to get cheaper all over the place, as you see with FS1 and Barstool. Programming needs to get cheaper, but you don't do it with the highest-rated late-night show. And this is what actually got Stephen Colbert fired. They won't say this, but this was the monologue a few days before he was fired, and, importantly, a few days before the Sundance CEO, who is going to be a part of this merger, Skydance, was meeting with the FCC, and you now know what government institutions are doing. And so what Colbert did on television to honor, okay, not unlike what Shane Gillis did at the end of the ESPYs, where he's honoring Norm Macdonald, on this stage, in this time, Stephen Colbert is the highest rated late night show because he does stuff like this. And this is what got him fired.
My mustache comes to you with a heavy heart because while I was on vacation, my parent corporation, Paramount, paid Donald Trump a $16 million settlement over his 60 Minutes lawsuit. As someone who has always been a proud employee of this network, I am offended. And I don't know if anything will ever repair my trust in this company. This settlement is for a nuisance lawsuit Trump filed claiming that 60 Minutes deceptively edited their interview with then-candidate Kamala Harris last fall. Paramount knows they could have easily fought it because, in their own words, the lawsuit was completely without merit. Now, I believe this kind of complicated financial settlement with a sitting government official has a technical name in legal circles. It's big fat bribe.
So the corporate media has shown a remarkable cowardice in pushing back on a fascist, even though it has FU money. And now the fight comes to Rupert Murdoch, who isn't going to somehow be as weak as some of these other people tend to be. But Jon Stewart is saying he's not sure about the future of Daily Show. He's not sure about the future of South Park. Jon Stewart, of course, got banished by Apple and is now not sure about the Daily Show. And the part that made me sad wasn't just the nostalgic memory part. It's the fact that Trump got $16 million for something that was just a nuisance lawsuit that had no chance of winning, and also got Colbert fired.
to be clear to our audience, the reason why they pay that settlement, as long theorized by many people on social media, is they have this Paramount and Skydance have this massive merger, and you need the FCC's approval to pass this thing through, and Donald Trump could have stayed in the way of that. And we've seen things like this with law firms. We've seen it's not always a lawsuit settlement. We've also seen donations go to the presidential library. Some of the biggest tech companies in the world are doing that right now to curry favor with the president of the United States in what appears to be pretty transparent bribes and corruption.
I love Stephen Colbert. Smart show. I lean with him politically. I love everything about the guy, but at the same
This is not an echo chamber.
At the same time, I have to wonder, Stephen, you didn't think you might be fired by saying this? When you say the company paying my checks no longer has my trust, I mean, you're inviting yourself to be fired.
To be fair, 60 Minutes had an editorial piece at the start of one of their shows shortly after the settlement, and they came out against it. And he hosts a show, as Dan mentioned, where what's canon is going at the corporate bosses. That is actually like a tentpole of late night. Stephen Colbert has never shied away from that. Dan mentioned Jon Stewart, who does host the Daily Show every Monday for Comedy Central under the Paramount umbrella. The South Park creators who also have a very famous show, a legacy show in South Park, for that same parent network, came out and said this merger is a disaster. It's why you're not getting new episodes on time. But Bill Simmons, I saw a clip of Bill Simmons, and he pointed to tonight's Daily Show with Jon Stewart as one of the more fascinating nights and late nights since the extortion attempt on David Letterman. What was David going to say there? Because you have a guy in Jon Stewart who is one of the most recognized, if not the single most recognized personalities with that network, Comedy Central. He also just left a place in Apple because they tried to censor what he was going to report on. Colbert's career is tied to that show, The Daily Show, and Jon Stewart. So what is Jon Stewart going to say today?
In this time where the court jesters have become the trusted newsmen, because that tree is not just Colbert and Jon Stewart, it's also John Oliver and a whole assortment of other folks.
Yeah, it was a king-making show.
And John Oliver also goes after his employer, makes fun of HBO Max, and these people are important. And the idea that in today's time you can have the business come into the editorial to contaminate everything at a time we need the press to be stronger, we need voices to be stronger, to see corporate media bow to throw $16 million. It's a nuisance lawsuit. I understand why they did it. I understand. It's simply a business decision. But the blatant dishonesty after that is something that makes people not trust corporate media. Like, you can't say that's strictly a financial decision. Like, that is as bold-faced a lie as the pathological liar who's a criminal and a racist and possibly a rapist and felon and everything, fraud. That's every bit the lie that he tells daily.
And emboldened now. Takes his victory lap on social media saying Jimmy Kimmel should be next, and then while not mentioning Jimmy Fallon, also kind of touches on Jimmy Fallon, and it just exacerbates this type of behavior. We saw it touch sports over the weekend, this kind of shakedown mentality. Change the Commanders' name or else. And a lot of conservative friends ask me, what do you think about this Commanders thing? I'm like, I think it's none of his goddamn business. What business is it to the president of the United States what a team decides to call itself? And now he's trying to get in the way of a real estate deal. This is what an authoritarian looks like. It's no more his business what they're called to what colors that they wear on the field. That is a private enterprise. It's none of the president's business.
Oh, but I've told you before that there are a stack of executive orders and other things that they can just throw into the publicity machine to try and get rid of whatever the scandal of the day is. And he's having all sorts of trouble getting rid of Epstein because his base is turned on him. And when I tell you that corporate media is failing, the guy he's presently sued is not failing.
That's a fascinating dynamic because Rupert Murdoch owns the Wall Street Journal and owns Fox News, which is the largest megaphone that President Trump and his administration have had. It's tilted the pendulum when it comes to influence in this country. It's propaganda. And it'll be interesting to see if that ever goes to Discovery. Maybe Donald Trump is playing himself. But yes, with the Obama hoax, with the commanders, he's reaching for any kind of popular diversionary tactic with his own base, because that's where his popularity is strikingly dipped, with his own MAGA base.
I mean, I expect CBS or any huge corporation to lie or fudge the truth for its own benefit. I don't particularly trust politicians, starting with Trump. But that's a different story than or Stephen Colbert doing more than, he wasn't making fun of CBS by any means. He wasn't having a laugh with it. He was super serious, and he did more than just make fun of the settlement or deride the settlement. He said, I no longer have trust for my corporation. And that, to me, that was him going over the line in a way that he had to know that that was the line. That's all I'm saying. I think.
So you're saying he should have been fired?
I am saying that he should have expected to be fired. Okay, in an ideal world, I'm not going to fire him. If I'm CBS, hell no. But knowing the reality of what he's dealing with, I think when he's flatly saying, and CBS ostensibly is in the trust business, they still have news programs. When he's saying, I no longer can trust CBS, I think that's a death knell. I think he had to know that I am saying something that might get me fired.
You say that, but I will tell you, at the end at ESPN around some of this stuff, I never expected to be fired. Never. And wasn't going to be, because you don't take the hit on that. But the times have changed. And what has changed on Colbert is the times, because that show's always been allowed to do that. And you're right, when he went after, he did go after them hard, but he has a lot of reason to believe, as the highest rated show in late night, that there's very little possibility that he's going to be fired for making fun of his employer.
What I don't understand is Paramount paid the president off with this settlement. Shouldn't that have stopped the problems? Did they not want their biggest late night talent calling this to attention? But 60 Minutes has just let Colbert do his thing, and now it's become totally outsized with the announcement that you're letting him go, because now people are focusing on the message when it's a message that he could say for years on end. The only time that's ever been canon, apparently, for CBS with their parent company is when they're trying to push through a massive merger.
You said he made it worse. They've made it worse, and they have, but temporarily, right? The decision is a fascinating one. To take the publicity hit at the front end that you're going to take right now, lie about it, try with a calculated fashion to say nothing bad about Colbert. You're not telling us it's about anything else. You're saying strictly financial decision, and that makes no sense.
I mean, you're pissing off Stephen Colbert. We wait with bated breath to find out what they do with Jon Stewart. These are all taped shows. Are they going to muddle that message? You add Matt Stone and Trey Parker to the mix. This is not a dilution by degrees. You are ripping away what is actually an audience driver for you, things that make part of this merger really appealing. That was a massive deal that they cut with Jon Stewart, that saw him executive produce and bring back to life The Daily Show, with him including him hosting once a week.